This is J. Krishnamurti's second public discussion at Brockwood Park, 1974.
What shall we talk over together this morning? Beg pardon? Where did we leave off last time?
We were asking the question, can the mind be aware of all this happening within the field of thought and wait with that, with the question, what then are we to do?
Oh yes.
Can we leave the field clear and not just keep answering the questions, but stay with it?
I think we were saying last time that we met here that thought is in itself divisive and brings about fragmentation of life. This fragmentation of life into nationalities, classes, religious sects and groups has created in the world economically, socially and morally an utter chaos. I think we all are aware of this mess around us, and perhaps also we are aware of this mess inside of us, this confusion. And if we are aware of it, what are we to do? I think that was where we left off. I think we should be very clear. The whole structure and nature of thought before we can answer what to do. Right? This is a dialogue between two of us. As friends, we are talking over together this problem. Therefore, you are sharing in it. We are taking a journey together. I am not talking to myself. Thought is the response of memory. I think we are agreed to that we see that, not agree, that's a fact. If there was no memory, there would be no thought. Memory is experience, knowledge. And knowledge is always in the past. Right? And thought is measure. Thought is time. And from the ancient Greeks to the present time, measure has played an extraordinary part in our life. Measure technologically, because otherwise without measurement there would be no technology. There's measure as comparison, as conformity, measure as the ideal, the prototype, the perfect example, and measuring ourselves to that example. This has been the process of thought right through the world. again, there is no question about it. It is not the speaker's opinion or your opinion. It's a fact. Right? Can we go on from there? Right? And if you are really interested in it, rather amusing, you go to the East, India and other parts of Asia, and you notice that measure, they have a special word in Sanskrit, which ma is to measure, and they said measurement is illusion. Are you interested in all this? Does it amuse you, or is it... And to find the immeasurable, because they said if you do not find the immeasurable, what is measurable is always within the area of imprisonment. There is no escape from that limitation, from that bondage of time. So they said, the ancient people, that one must go beyond the measure and therefore control thought. You follow this? Control thought. And the very controlling of the thought projected the immeasurable, which is the product of thought. So they were also caught in the measurement of thought. They thought they could get away with it through meditation, through conformity, through control, through suppression, all through the process of thought. And we see now, whether you go to the East or to the West, Orient or the Occident, this world is based on thought. All our activities, all our technological, scientific development is based on thought. Our gods are the result of thought. The whole Christian world is based on thought, as the Hindu, the Muslim, and the rest of it. And thought being in itself dividing, divisive, fragmentary, whatever it does must be fragmentary. Right? Whatever it does, whether it tries to invent a future which is perfect as an ideal, the perfect prototype, it is still within the measure of thought. And seeing what thought has done in this world, war, the dividing nations against nations, man against man, ideologies against ideologies, beliefs against beliefs, seeing all this, the violence, the brutality, the suffering, the starvation, the lack of cooperation right through the world to solve the human problems as inflation, starvation, war. And there is no cooperation. So what is a mind to do when it is aware of all this? You understand? What is your mind to do? Because we must act. Life is action. You can't just sit still and do nothing. You can't escape into some monastery or some retreat in India or enter some Zen monastic order. We have to act. And what is a mind to do, being aware of all this? You've understood really, this is not a problem for what is today, Thursday evening or morning. It's the problem of life. It's the problem of our everyday life. What am I to do in my relationship with another? What am I to do with the ideas that I have? What is my relationship to the community, to the human beings? And what is my relationship to my friend, my wife, husband, children, and so on? Because life is a relationship as action. So, seeing all this, what is a mind aware of this whole problem? Not a particular problem, not a particular area, but the whole area. Is the mind capable of seeing this whole as a whole, not in part? I don't know if I'm making myself clear. Is my mind, your mind, capable of seeing, being aware of the whole structure and nature of thought and its activity, what it has done, and see it as a whole? Can the mind see it as a whole? Because the mind itself has been the product of thought, of experience, of knowledge. And therefore the mind itself can only see something partially. I don't know if you've gone into this question at all. So we're asking, can the mind, your mind, see, perceive, observe the whole movement of thought as time measure, and thought which has its roots in the past, going through the present and therefore modifying the future? I don't feel all that is involved and more in the observation of thought, in observation. Can the mind observe the whole of it? You understand my question? I wonder if I'm making this thing clear, because it's rather important to understand this. Our minds are educated to observe or see or feel partially. One thinks about oneself and not of another, or one thinks of oneself in relation to another according to the image that one has about oneself. And therefore we are trained, we are educated, it's our habit to draw a circle round ourselves and another to include the other in our circle. So we are accustomed to look at life partially, as a fragment. And we are asking whether the mind can see non-fragmentarily.
Before the mind can see non-fragmentarily, it has to recognize the fact that it is fragmented, that it doesn't know, that it can't answer the question because the question can't be answered from the past.
Therefore, the gentleman says, can the mind be aware that it is looking fragmentarily at life? I look at life as an Englishman with his particular training, education, culture, environmental influence, economic conditioning, and so on, so on. And the Frenchman looks at it in his own way, and the Dutch and the German and the American, and so on, so on, so on. We are trained from childhood to look at life that way. Are we aware of this conditioning? That's what he's asking. Unless we are aware, we cannot possibly look at the whole. That implies the question also, what is the relationship of the individual to the whole? What is my relationship as an individual to humanity? Humanity being the human being there, not the 10,000 miles away. If I know what my relationship to the man over there, then I know what my relationship to the man 10,000 miles away. So all this is implied. Can the mind, being conditioned, educated, has lived in a culture that says, that maintains division, not only as an artist, as a writer, as a businessman, as an economist, as a socialist, as a scientist, but also division in belief, my God and your God. So can my mind, your mind, be aware of this fact? Not try to change it, not try to translate it, not try to break it down. Be just aware of it, as one is aware that it's raining. Then the question arises, if you are aware, who is it that is aware? You understand? Is it one of the fragments that's aware of the other fragments? And so assumes that fragment which is aware of the other fragment, assumes the authority of direction. You understand what I'm saying? Is this clear?
Could you please say that again? The last one with the authority. The last one with the authority. Could you please say that again?
Could I repeat? Just a minute, I'll have to think over it.
Is the fragment aware of the other fragment?
Oh yes, oh yes. is we are fragmented human beings, right? I'm an artist, I'm a poet, I'm a businessman, I'm a, I don't know, dozen things broken up. And amongst these fragments, one fragment which thinks it is superior, which assumes the ideal, the authority, the perfect prototype, the supreme self, the inner self, that assumes a position, a position of authority, and then dictates what it shall do, what other fragments shall do. That's what we are doing, if you observe it. And is that fragment, which has assumed a superiority of the authority, is it any different from the other fragments? Please, this is dreadfully serious. Don't play with this, otherwise it has no meaning. And why has one fragment assumed a position where it can guide the other fragments? And what is that fragment? It is still the product of thought, surely. No? And the other fragments are also the products of thought. My wife, my house, my country, my God, my belief, my progress, my conflict. So, can one be aware without the authority of one fragment? Do go into it, you will see. It's a great deal of not only fun, intellectually, it's an extraordinary thing when you go into it. Could you, I can't hear, sir.
If one were totally aware, surely we wouldn't feel fragmented.
If one were totally aware, there would be no fragmentation. That is a conditional awareness. If I am aware, if I am good, that has no meaning. Either you are or you are not. That's, please. We are not satisfied with ourselves. Why should you be satisfied with yourself? Please, you say, I'm not satisfied with myself. Why? You've not better house, better job. You're not so beautiful, not you, somebody, not so beautiful as somebody else. What is your dissatisfaction based on? Because you want something and you can't get it.
Isolation.
Isolation. Sorrow. Wait a minute, sir. Does sorrow make you dissatisfied? Huh? Does isolation make you dissatisfied? Good Lord. Huh? Is isolation the result of comparison? You don't. you have an ideal, and you want to be according to that ideal, and you can't be, therefore you're dissatisfied. Through comparison you are dissatisfied, right? Through measurement you are dissatisfied. Does sorrow bring dissatisfaction? Is isolation dissatisfaction? Go on, Siddhun. That questioner said, I am dissatisfied. With what? With what you are? And why are you dissatisfied with what you are? Do investigate it, please. I am dull in comparing myself with you who are clever, who are bright, who are intelligent, aware, clear. I'm dissatisfied because through comparison I have found that I am dull. Right? Why do I compare? Is it the result of my education? From the days of in my school days, there have been comparison. You must be as good as that. Your marks are not as good as somebody else. So I've been trained from childhood to compare. I compare myself physically with you. I am dissatisfied because I'm not so nice looking. I'm not so bright. I haven't got long hair, short hair, broad, this or that. I'm dissatisfied intellectually because you are bright, and so on, so on, so on. Why do we compare? With the ideal or with a person or with an example? Why? Am I dull if I do not compare? You follow? Go on, inquire into it, act upon it. You see, otherwise there's no meaning. Can one live a life without comparison? I never compared myself with anybody. Why should I? Not that I'm being superior. It doesn't enter into my mind to compare myself with somebody. So I'm so silly. Does comparison imply imitation and therefore conflict? You follow? All this is involved in this. So when you consider all this, can the mind observe itself non-fragmentarily? Which is to observe the whole movement of thought. And that brings up the question, is not the observer, the one who says, I must be aware, is that entity or the observer, the observed? Is not the ideal projected by thought and to conform or adjust myself adequately to that ideal is still myself. I am playing a trick upon myself. So I have to solve this question. Is not the observer the observed? Is not my gods, my religion, my all that projected out of myself? Therefore, I have created the gods. I don't know if you see all this. And the mind that is seeking experience, the experiencer is the experience. It's very difficult to grasp this because we want experiences. So can you be clear for yourself that the observer is the observed? And therefore can you be aware non-fragmentarily? The fragment is created or comes about when there is the observer different from the observed. There are whole schools in Asia and perhaps in Europe and in America where people are training themselves to be aware. Get a certificate or a degree in being aware. And so they practice awareness. And they never have questioned who is the entity who is aware. Is the entity that's aware different from the thing he's aware, he's watching? So go on, please. This is a fundamental question which you must answer for yourself. Not be persuaded by the speaker or by anybody. If you are persuaded or you are caught in the network of propaganda, then you will also be caught in another network of propaganda. Whereas if you see this fact, the truth of this, the absolute truth of this, then you eliminate altogether this frightful conflict that goes on between in oneself and outside. So can the mind be aware of itself, which is the result of centuries of thought and its divisive activity? Can the mind be aware without an entity that is being aware? So, if you are, I must proceed, I can't. If you are so aware, then in that awareness there is no fragmentation at all, obviously. From that arises, there is no choice. It isn't a state of perfect understanding that passeth on, all that. It is just being aware of all the thing that's happening outside and inside, without judgment, without justification, without rationalization, just to observe. Then what takes place? Go on, sir, we should go. Justification, rationalization, suppression are various forms of dissipation of energy. Aren't they? I wonder if you realize. That is, I am aware of my conditioning as a Brahmin, as a Hindu, and all the rest of that nonsense. And I try to rationalize it or say it's quite right. I must be conditioned. It is necessary to live in this world. Otherwise you are destroyed, and all those reasons. That is, every form of rationalization, explanation, justification, suppression and so on, is wasting energy which is necessary to be totally aware. You understand? Awareness means an intensification of attention, complete attention. Therefore, any dissipation is a wastage of energy. And it is a wastage of energy when I say I must uncondition myself. Because when you say I must uncondition myself, who is the entity who is saying I must be unconditioned? The entity who is trying to uncondition himself is also conditioned. Like the analyst who analyzes you is also needs analyzing. So, it is absolutely necessary, if you would go much deeper into this question, to realize the truth that the observer, the experiencer, the thinker is the thought, is the experience, is the observed. No, you don't have to say it, sir. You don't have to verbalize it.
Even if I can state it, it's already.
No, I agree, sir. But you realize, one realizes the truth of it. One has the insight into this question. That is, when I try to imitate or conform or adjust myself to an ideal, is the ideal different from me who have created the ideal? Obviously it's not. But I have created it and I try to conform to it. And there's a battle going on between what I am, what I should be. And therefore, when one realizes this, you eliminate altogether this conflict between what is and what should be. Then you can deal with what is. You follow? I wonder if you...
So I find that when I say look at the colour of that cloth that you're seated on,
Yeah.
There's no observer there.
No, sir.
I mean, I can't find an observer anywhere. I don't think there is one.
Oh yes, seeing a colour outside you doesn't demand an observer. But when you are hurt, when somebody says something ugly about you or to you, then there is the observer and the observed. Obviously, So, but no. Lady says, when there is complete attention, there is neither the observer nor the observed. Quite right. I mean, I'm not saying you're right. I mean, if it is so, it is so. And you want to maintain that attention. Right? Now look. Who is the entity that wants to maintain that attention? See what has happened. Do watch it. Please watch it. One can be totally attentive for a few seconds or a few minutes or for some time. Then the memory of it remains. The memory of that attention. Then the thought says, I must have that attention all the time. Right? So there you are. Then you begin to practice attention. Never realizing that at the moment of attention there is no observer. What has happened is that attention has passed, the memory remains, which is dead, and you want to revive the dead thing to life. Right? And we play this game. Now, being aware, being attentive, totally, doesn't matter for a few seconds. End it, forget it. Then be attentive or aware of inattention. You understand? Be aware of that you're not being completely attentive, and that very attention, that very awareness of inattention is attention. You understand this? So you don't have to battle. I wonder if you get this. So we come to the point when the mind has been trained, educated to waste its energy in non-facts. Educated, trained, accepts as the ideal, the what should be, and struggles to achieve that. And that is a wastage of energy. Like nations trying to be brotherly. You follow? It's so silly. It has no meaning. So, you need all your energy, to go beyond what is. You understand this? I am violent. As a human being, I've inherited this sense of violence from the animal, from the society I live in, from the economic environment, from various urges, unsatisfied urges, comparison. All that has made me violent. And I need great deal of energy to go beyond it. But I waste my energy by either expressing that violence fully Or I have the ideal of non-violence, which is I try to change my violence into non-violence. Please follow this. Or I suppress it, which breeds further violence. All this is a wastage of energy. And that energy which is being wasted through all these processes, the mind needs to go beyond this violence. So, to go beyond the fact that I am violent needs all my energy. Right? Which means all my attention. Attention implies the summation of all energy, intellectual, emotional, physical, complete attention. That is the summation of energy. And when the mind is so completely attentive with its energy, is there violence? You do go into.
You need a lot of energy to see, but you don't actually use up the energy when you see.
No. Do you waste energy when you observe? Obviously not. When you observe without the observer. So we come back. Can the mind observe the whole phenomenon of thought which has created this monstrous, ugly, brutal world? Not as a fragment, but as a human being who has contributed to this. We have made this world. With our greed, with our anxieties, with our demand for security, with our beliefs, with our gods and so on. So we have made this. And can my mind, which has made this world, see the whole phenomenon not as a fragment apart from myself, as part of me? Which doesn't mean I become depressed, because there is, moment you are depressed, there is the entity who is depressed. You follow all that follows. So the mere fact that you are the world, and to go beyond that fact, you need all your energy.
So, when you're doing, say, a job, I mean, you don't think about these things, you just say washing up, or when you're not concerned with...
Obviously not, sir. When you're doing a job, you're not concerned with the observer and the observed. Obviously. But to do the job perfectly, efficiently, excellently, whatever you are doing, washing dishes, we have done all this, not just I'm not preaching to you. Whatever you do excellently needs attention. In a factory, in an office, washing dishes, whatever one does, gardening. And the more, when there is this extraordinary quality of attention, the work is done more efficiently. It doesn't become mechanical. It becomes, you know this.
Yeah, but it's attention to what you're doing, not attention to the world problem.
No, of course not. Sir, of course, to what you are doing. In what you are doing, what is its relationship to the world? You follow? Everything is interrelated. Now, having said all this, where are we? What is the place of the mind in relationship? May I go on with it? You are following all your interest, may I go on? This is a dialogue, a conversation, and I'm taking all that. It becomes one-sided, I'm afraid. Vipan, madam?
Is that the same question as the question about...
It's the same question as the observer. All right. It's not quite. See, what is relationship and what is love, what is death? All, you follow, there's so much. What is relationship? To be related. I think it comes from the word to respond, like responsibility. Relationship. What is diligence in relationship? You understand? The word diligence. What is diligence in relationship? Not religion, diligence. Go on. I am related to you, my wife, husband, mother, sister, neighbor. What is the quality of diligence in that relationship? Diligence. The negligence and diligence. I think that is related also to religion. Negligence, diligence, religion. The root is the same, I think. So, I am related to you, and I see one cannot live without relationship. Right? Obvious. May we go on with this? I may withdraw into a monastery, but still I am related. I may renounce the world, as many monks do in the West or in the East, but I am still the world. And I cannot deny the world. So I have to find out what is my relationship to the world, which is the world of human beings. See, what is my relationship to you? Wife, husband, friend, companion, whatever it is. And what is the place in that relationship of diligence? Or have we accepted a relationship with negligence? I wonder if you see this. I'm related to you. You're my companion, you give me pleasure, sex, 10 different things. You have nagged me, you have bullied me, you have possessed me, and I possess you, I'm attached to you, and you are attached to me, and I am attached to that attachment, and so on, so on, so on. And what part in that relationship, which means responsibility, has diligence? That's a good word. Or am I diligent to my concept of you? And therefore I neglect you. You understand this? I have a son. And I want him to be something. I send him to the best school if I have the money. Because the best school gives him a certain standard, certain way of articulating words. That snobism of that group. And I want him to be something. So my relationship to my son is based on my idea of what he should be. Right? Is that negligence or diligence? Obviously it's negligence. Because I, projecting on my poor son that he should go to the top school and so on. It's the image which I have, which I am projecting onto him. And the image which I have, I've inherited through my education, through my class difference, through my way of speaking, and so on, so on. I'm a snob, and I want him to be a blasted snob. So my relationship is based on an idea, on an ideal, or a concept, and that is absolute negligence. No. You haven't, please listen to this. You will get this very simple fact. So my responsibility is to the idea that I have. Do you understand? You understand? My responsibility is to the concept, to the ideal, to the image I have built about my son.
Because I'm not able to see myself for what he really is.
No, I don't know what he is. And I'm not even concerned what he is. I want him to be something in this world.
I find the amazing thing about one's son is that one doesn't know where he comes from.
Oh no, one doesn't know where he comes from. Reincarnation.
No,
Huh?
it's quite amazing that, I found with my son, I used to get to say, well, where does he come from? It's quite
So that's a wastage of energy. Look, I have a son. You know how sons are born. You don't have to go into all that. Huh? I have a son. Whether I want it or not, there he is. Or a daughter. I'm taking facts as they are. Now what am I to do? I see the absurdity, the total irresponsibility when I want him to be something other than what he is. I don't know what he is, but I want him to be something, to conform to the monstrous world he lives in. Vipin? I'm not talking with attention. I don't know a thing. I'm starting anew about relationship. Please follow this. What, sir? Yes, sir. So what am I to do?
So I must ask this question. I see that's negligence. You come into a relationship with some of these people, take drugs, live dirty, etc. When does that become negligence? When you say, I can't live like that, I won't live with them. Is that negligence?
No.
Or is that saying, I just can't live like that?
That's not negligence.
But you're caring. You're seeing them going into...
I agree, sir. But what are you to do?
That's my question. Do I say, I can't leave you, but I can't stay with them?
Quite right. Why should you? Why should I stay with somebody who smells? Is it lack of my love for him? No, sir, this is much more complex. Let's take a little more deeper, not smell and I don't dirty long hair or that. Now, one has this problem. That is, in relationship, responsibility is implied. Responsibility to what? You follow, sir? To the child or to the image that I have about the child? I feel responsible for my family, if I have one. And what is my responsibility? It's a very difficult question to answer, you understand? So it's not just something you play with. My wife wants this, that, and you follow all those things. And I want also lots of things. And my responsibility is to live with the family and comply or disregard trivial things and be responsible not to the image that I have about her, about him, but responsible to behave. You follow, sir? I wonder if you understand this. That behavior is based not on an ideal, but to behave without the sense of being conscious of behavior. Am I making any sense? No. The gentleman says no. I'm glad. So that brings up the question, what is virtue? What is morality? Is virtue something of which you are conscious, which you have deliberately cultivated? You understand my question? I am vain, arrogant, and all the rest of that business. And I cultivate deliberately humility. In the cultivation of humility, I'm asking myself, is it really humility at all? Or is it a covering up of my vanity? If I am aware of my vanity, you follow? Aware, in the sense the observer is the observed, therefore there is no cultivation of humility. When I am aware of my vanity, that vanity ends. It doesn't become something else. I wonder if you see this. Therefore, I come back to the question. Relationship implies not to the image I have built about another or about myself, but responsible to cooperation. You understand this? That's implied in relationship, doesn't it? Not only to my wife, to my children, but the essence of cooperation.
If one doesn't understand themselves, how can there be relationship?
Obviously, sir. How can there be a relationship if one doesn't understand oneself? To understand oneself means to be aware of your images that you have built about yourself and about another. And if you are aware, then you begin to inquire, see how you have built the image, either inherited, acquired, or cultivated.
What creates the image?
What creates the image? Very simple. You and I are related. And you say something hard, brutal, you hurt me. Right? You have hurt the image which I have built about myself. Right? That's very simple.
Why do I protect that?
Wait. First see what I have done. You say something brutal or unkind or unflattering, and the image which I have about myself is hurt. And that hurt remains. why does one create an image at all? It is a form of self-protection. It's a form of self-security. It's a form of resistance. It's a form of not want to be invaded by you. It's a form of wanting to maintain myself within the walls of resistance, and so on. So I have created an image about myself, and you hurt me, hurt that image. And in that relationship between you and me, in which there has been hurt, and I have hurt you, consciously or unconsciously, so there is a wall between us, and we say we are related. So can we prevent the hurt, and can we prevent also the image building? You follow it? If the mind doesn't build an image about itself, it can never be hurt. Right?
Is that not an image?
Huh?
Is that not an image?
No.
The mind that can't be hurt?
No, sir. Look. In my relationship with you, you have hurt me by doing something. What is hurt? The image I have about myself, obviously. Now, why do I create that image?
How can an image be hurt?
Oh, sir, don't you know? If you call me a fool, won't you be hurt? Huh?
Will I be hurt? You said the image is hurt.
The image is you. The I is you. The I who says, I'm much better than you think I am. I am much more noble. I am this, I am that. I am desperate. I am ugly. I am beautiful. I am this. That is the me, the I, which is the image, which is put together by words, by thought, by incidents, accidents, all that. That's me, which is an image. What?
Is that the meaning of vanity, to have an image? Huh? Is it the meaning of vanity, to have an image of oneself?
Vanity?
Vanity.
No, sir.
What if that was the meaning of vanity?
No, you're not following, you're going off. Look, sir. In your relationship with your friend or with your wife, have you not an image about her or him? Huh? Have you not an image about your wife or your husband? Of course, I don't. I mean, this is.
It seems to be the very fabric of a self, doesn't it?
That's what I'm saying, sir.
So how can?
I'm showing it to you, sir. You're not.
Can such a thing come to an end?
I'm showing it to you.
Or is it just nonsense? Or is it some kind of weird monkey talk? I mean, where's it at?
You're not even listening to what is being said, sir.
Yes, I am.
I'm showing you, sir.
Yes.
I am related to you
Yes.
as a brother, as a wife, or a husband, or a girlfriend, boyfriend. And in that relationship, you nag me, you possess me, you hurt me. And that hurt is in the image I have about myself. Right? This seems so clear. Oh, for God's sake. All right, I'll say one. One is hurt. And that image is hurt. So the point is this. Can the mind stop building an image? And if it stops building an image, there is no hurt at all. Now, is it possible to stop an image, to stop building images?
I don't know, I've just built about a dozen. You know, I don't know.
I'm going to... Oh, you don't know, but therefore find out. What, sir? Partly. We said that security, fear, uncertainty, all that is implied. Now I built an image about myself, and I see why I have built it. In order to protect myself, because I am afraid, I am lonely, I am suffering, and I have the image that I must not suffer, and so on, so on, so on. I have an image about myself. Not only one, but dozen images. Now, is it possible for the mind not to build images? And is that possible? I do not know if you have ever asked even this question. Image means formula, concept, symbol, word, all that is implied in the image.
It's not possible as long as one seeks pleasure, because the opposite, the image has been created by pain.
By pain, by pleasure, by fear, by...
Oh, it just spins it out all the time, like a spider spins out a web, for God's sake. It's
Yes,
a
sir.
crab.
I'm trying to answer all the questions. So I say to myself, is it possible to stop building images? Stick to that one thing, sir. You say something which is pleasurable or painful, and instantly an image is formed. Can that, at that moment of flattery or insult, be aware, be totally attentive at that moment? Then is there building of an image at all? You follow me? It's only the mind that is inattentive at the moment of action that builds an image. But when the mind is attentive at the moment of challenge and response, at that precise moment when it is attentive, there is no formation of image.
When I think of the art of acting, when I think of acting, the act of acting, it falls apart in normal life spontaneously, and where you actually produce images without being bound by them.
Sir, did you listen to what I said just now? That where there is attention, there is no forming of image. Because in that attention, all your energy is there. Therefore you listen to the hurt and to the flattery without a single response of either pleasure or pain. You just observe.
Sir, if you take an actor has to be very attentive to act.
So I'm not talking about actors, I'm talking about you and me and relationship. So this is really a very serious matter, this. This is not something you play around with actors and all the rest of it. This is your problem. Because in our relationship with each other, we're always in battle. We're always in conflict. Husband, wife, girl, boy. It is everlasting fight. And a man who is serious, wants to find out what it is to live without conflict, has to understand what it means to be related. Yes, sir. That's a different problem altogether. If you're a teacher, is it time to stop? 1 o'clock? Let's finish this one thing quickly. No, sir, I must finish that question if you don't mind. That's what I'm trying to answer, sir. If we are teachers, we have to form ideals for the children, for the student. Why? When you are children, you had ideals formed for you. Why? What is the importance of ideals at all? So, you're all Christians, right? At least you have been. And your ideals have been to love your neighbor. Not to kill your neighbor. Whether that neighbor is 10 feet away or 10,000 miles away. Not to kill him. You have this marvelous ideal. You have had the greatest war, the greatest number of people you have killed. And what value has your ideal been? Why don't you face the fact that human beings are violent and change that? Change. Your wars are brought about through nationalism, through economy, through all kinds of reasons. Face that and change that and not have ideals.
That is an ideal.
It is not an ideal, sir. Sir.
You're doing the same thing for us the teachers do for the
No, you are missing the whole point.
Am I not violent because my image is threatened?
That's part of it, sir. This is not an ideal. I am not talking of ideals. I have very carefully explained. Thought is divisive. Thought divides. As long as thought creates an image, an ideal, that factor of ideal brings about division. That doesn't mean ideals. That's an insight into the structure and nature of thought. Insight. Insight is not an ideal. It's seeing the fact is not an ideal. We better stop.